Welcome, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to MetriSight, a podcast from Metrigy. I'm Beth Schultz, Metrigy's Vice President of Research and Principal Analyst, and with me today is Diane Myers. Diane is our Principal Analyst responsible for our market forecasting and vendor rankings. Now, these reports are part of our annual MetriCast service, and in MetriCast, we take a deep dive on the markets for different technology categories comprising the customer experience and workplace collaboration markets. For customer experience, we published the Global Buy-Side CX MetriCast 2023 study. That was a study with almost 1,700 companies, and we addressed their adoption and spending plans across 14 customer experience technologies. These included things like Agent Assist, Contact Center as a Service, Workflow Automation, and many more. In our MetriCast study, we also asked participants to tell us about their plans to change providers, when and why, and we asked them to rate their providers on a number of criteria and to share business success metrics. For these later two, we recognize providers that receive at or above average customer sentiment scores and whose customers achieved high business success. This year, the CX and other technology leaders in our study provided 276 ratings across 14 categories of CX technologies. And from these, we named 59 MetriStar Top Provider Award winners, plus additional winners for business success and customer sentiment. As part of our MetriCast service, CX deliverables, this year, Diane has compiled market forecasts based on buy-side intelligence from our MetriCast study, plus supply-side input for 3 CX-related technologies. Those are contact center platforms, communications platform as a service, and CRM. We published in-depth size and spending forecasts for each, as well as companion workbooks. And just this week, we've published our first CX vendor ranking of contact center as a service providers, and Diane is here to tell us more. So, Diane, welcome.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, really excited for this first of our MetriRank reports to be coming out.
Yeah, thanks. It's a really comprehensive look across a variety of metrics, and this is the methodology and the metrics we're looking at are really a consistent standard that we're setting for all of these reports that will follow. The first one, as you mentioned, will be as contact center as a service, so CCaaS. And let me just walk through, first of all, the different categories that we're measuring companies. So first is market share. And that's the most important category in terms of leadership, right? I mean, you either are a market share leader or you're not. And that market share is the one factor we look at to start with. And that gets you included into any of these ranking reports that we're going to be doing, right? So market share is most important. It gets the heaviest weight, and it is the baseline, right, for making it into the report. Then we are looking at financial strength, and we are looking at a variety of different financial metrics. I'm not going to go into all of them here, but it's 4 different ones. So we're looking to see if companies are basically profitable. They are, that they have liquidity, they are, have operating efficiency. So those are generally what we're looking at when we think about financial strength. So we're looking at a variety of financial metrics that turn into a score. We are looking at market share momentum. So are companies growing their market share year over year relative to the rest of the market? Are they keeping pace, or are they kind of falling off? So how does that look? We're looking at the product mix. So we actually have a big, long checklist of features and capabilities and integrations, and it's literally just a checklist, right? Do they have it? Do they not? And that becomes a score. And then, Beth, as you had mentioned earlier, we look at the customer sentiment and the customer business success, and those are from our big studies that we're doing, right? So in this case, it would be the customer experience study, where specifically around CCaaS, we asked companies who were customers of a variety of different CCaaS companies, how are they succeeding, right? Or are they above average? And how do they feel about the companies that they're using across a variety of different sentiment categories? And those all become a numerical score, and we add it up, and that's our ranking.
that's a great overview of the whole MetriRank process. So, and all the little pieces that go into it. So, thank you for that. What can you tell us specifically about the CCaaS MetriRank report?
Yeah. So let me tell you kind of who's in it, right? Like let me kind of run down. So Nice is the number one, right? They had the highest score. They are the market share leaders, so that gives them a really important bump. They have really good, solid financial strength. So across the board, and they have all the product pieces, right? So Nice came up as number one. And really kudos to them. And we look at that when we are doing, especially, the top companies, we are looking at that and saying, look, they're doing well now, but they have some of these other fundamental pieces that really sets them up for future success, at least in the next few years. So Nice came out as number one. And I'll mention Five9 was number two, and Cisco was number three, and then Genesis was number four. But other companies that made it into the mix included, in no particular order, just kind of alphabetical, we have 8x8, AWS, Dialpad, Sprinkler, Talkdesk, Twilio, Vonage. And so we have 11 companies, right? It was very, very close in terms of market share cutoff. So while we typically want to look at 10 companies, we really extended this to 11 because there was two that were very, very close in terms of market share. And across the board, um, you know, product mix is really interesting, right? Because that's, most companies have all the baseline capabilities. If they're in this top 10, top 11, they're doing something right. Because when we looked at the CCaaS landscape, we really did look at, between 20 and 30 companies. And there's a lot, right? This is definitely a very dynamic market with a
Yeah.
lot of different companies. So just to even make it into the top 11, you're absolutely doing something right to start with.
It's interesting because you've got different, I mean, that 11 represents a bunch of different types of providers, right? You've got your pure play, your company's evolving off of premises, et cetera, right?
Well, I think that's right. And I think when you look at this, many of these companies are absolutely coming from different positions, right? So you have a company like a Genesis and even a Nice who have a heritage and a legacy in contact centers, right? They have. And even Cisco, I should have put Cisco in that group too, right? So that, so they're coming from selling, customer owned, premise based solutions, and really have been able to make that transition into, as a service capabilities. You have companies like an 8x8 or a Vonage who kind of grew up more on the unified communications side, right? Who really, have long history in IP technology and as a service and cloud infrastructure. But in this case, they came to contact center after they had already had a grounding on the UCaaS space. And Dialpad would be in that mix too. But then you have companies like AWS, right? A cloud
Hmm.
provider. You have, Twilio, who came more from the API and the CPaaS space of the world. So it is a really different mix of companies who have different strengths and weaknesses.
So you mentioned, CCaaS is a very dynamic, a lot of companies play in this space. So we've got our top 11 based on the ratings. What companies didn't make the report, but you're still watching them?
Yeah, there are definitely some companies that are 100% worth kind of tracking and just keeping our eye on, right? So, number one has got to be Avaya, right? I mean, Avaya has a legacy. They have a very large installed base of contact center clients. So as they continue to progress and move forward with CCaaS as a service, not the dedicated cloud managed environment, but, true CCaaS services, that, we expect them to be competitive, right? We have Content Guru doing some really interesting things, particularly, in their grounding in their base in Europe and expanding on a global basis. We have companies that I view, and then you have Zendesk, right? Zendesk is a company that's been in this
Hmm.
space for a while. They're always one to keep in the mix. You have UJet, in particular with their partnership with Google. right? So we think that is really interesting play there, and has the potential to really, maybe even knock a couple companies off the list next year. And then you have companies like Microsoft and Salesforce and Zoom who come from different backgrounds, but are all working to make a play in this CCaaS space. So none of them are where we would say, oh, they're right on the brink of being a top 10, but I wouldn't, they're all three powerhouses in their own right. And we wouldn't count them out in terms of being able to really make a big, a big impact, particularly over the next year. So those are ones that, didn't necessarily, they weren't close to making a cut, but they have the potential of kind of exploding.
I like that but.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you can't count. I mean, Microsoft, Salesforce, Zoom. I mean, these are not, these aren't startup companies, right?
right, for sure. Okay. What about um, what's next? I'm sorry, what's next?
Yeah. So let me take a step back. So we are almost done. We're going to be publishing here pretty soon our workplace collaboration MetriCast, the large study and the forecasts. And out of that is going to be coming our UCaaS MetriRank. So very, very complementary to the CCaaS. We're definitely going to do the one on UCaaS. That will be interesting and exciting, and you may see some of these same companies showing up in both reports.
Mhm.
But then we're also this year for MetriRank, we're also going to tackle CPaaS, and we're going to tackle SIP trunking. There may be others probably as we move into 2024, right? As we're in the back half of this year, but this the MetriRank and the way we're looking at it, and we're looking across a variety of different factors for each of these companies, it gives us a really great way to evaluate, especially newer markets, where, how are companies kind of playing out with each other? Maybe there isn't large market shares, but some interesting things. So we're going to be looking at, what do we do, and what do we continue to do in terms of these ranking reports for 2024.
Exciting stuff, and you will have your hands full, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you, Diane, for sharing all of this with us. As Diane mentioned, be on the lookout for our workplace collaboration MetriCast study. We will also have our workplace collaboration MetriStars. Those will be announced in mid-August. And we're looking at 9 categories for workplace collaboration MetriStars. That includes UCaaS, meeting services, video room systems, SIP trunking, and so on. We do have a webinar scheduled on our workplace collaboration MetriStars. That is scheduled for August 15th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So you can go to our Bright Talk channel and check that out. And Diane, any last thoughts to share before we head out?
No, I guess, yeah. I mean, if I had to say one thing, right, there's a lot going on, right, particularly on the customer experience side, right? A lot of things around artificial intelligence and product development. And so when I think about this space, I think about the MetriRank report that we're publishing. Um, I think stay tuned, right? Because I suspect there will be changes and shakeups because there is just a lot going on. And the companies that have the ability to invest and to move forward, may really surprise some people in the market. So definitely a lot of things going on for sure in the customer experience piece of the piece of the industry.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Diane, and listeners. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we're really happy to hear from you. So do feel free to reach out to us via the contact button on the Metrigy website. That's all for now. On behalf of the Metrigy team, goodbye till next time, and take care, everybody.